This podcast was previously called Business from Within, but one of the biggest things I know in my life, and the lives of people that I've coached and even my mentors, if you're not aligned 100% with what you're going to do, things just don't go as smoothly. Things are a little bit tougher. I got to tell you, I think we've done 40 episodes as the Business from Within podcast, and I realized 90% of the results we see with working with people come from within. So many people become victims by saying, I need something outside of myself to fix myself. When the answer is in who you are, in yourself. You have the answer. And you know what? Dealing with relationship coaching, dealing with business coaching, at the end of the day, my heart aligns with from within more than it aligns with business from within. And I'd encourage you to ask yourself, where am I not aligned? And I'm going to tell you right now, when you're aligned, you can go 10 times farther, 10 times faster, and it doesn't feel like work. Business from Within podcast has been a lot of fun, but now it's called From Within. And it now touches the lives of people all over the place. Rather than just focusing on business, it's truly a catalyst for your life, your business, and relationships. Thanks for listening. Hey guys, it's Ben Osterveld here from the podcast From Within. We've got Jay Niblick here. He's got a book that has, he might not even know how much this, his book, it's not even the book, it's the concept of this book has affected my life and impacted my own career. When I was at the event called Simple Wealth, it's got to be over 10 years ago or even longer. Hey, Jay?
At least 10, possibly 11, up in Banff was the last one. So.
Was it Banff? I think I went to the Calgary one in Calgary. It was a big hotel. Greg Hapstert was putting it on.
Yep.
It was a fantastic event. And then there's you standing on the stage and talking about this book called, what's it called? What's Your Genius?
What's Your Genius, yeah.
What's Your Genius? And the concept blew my mind because why don't you give a quick rundown? I know we're going to get right into it, but give me a concept of this book so we have some context of what we're talking about.
Oh, I mean, What's Your Genius actually started out as a white paper. You know, the first company I started is called Innermetrix. And so there I've written these psychometric instruments, DISC and values and attributes. And we saw them used all over the world. We've got I think we're at 1,700 consultants in 52 countries now. And you would see the stories and talking about, hey, these people always seem to perform and these people always don't. And there was these two populations and almost everyone we were working with, all the organizations. And it started on the Innermetrix side as a research study. Do we measure all these things? You know, we measure these 120 intangible traits. That's why we called it Innermetrix, you know, qualifying these behavioral traits and personality traits. And we said, is there a trend? Can we find with the things that we measure some correlation to performance?
Give me a couple examples of these inner trends just for context and simplicity.
So 3 different core instruments that we have in Innermetrix. And so you look at the DISC values, a DISC profile, which looks at behavioral models. You know, are you really decisive? Are you more interactive, extroverted, introverted? How detail oriented are you? We look at motivators. So does an individual get driven by service, or is it more economic gain or competitive or individual desires, and thinking styles as well as the third profile? How do you make decisions? Real loosely put, you know, is it head, hand, and heart? But all these different characteristics, and we said, we measure them. Why can't we find out if there's a correlation with performance? So the hypothesis was, will there be things? The question really, it wasn't much of a hypothesis, is will these things come to bear? Well, we find that if you have these certain traits, you tend to be a better performer than others.
And that's what's the tagline on your book of the success? What did you, I know it's packaged, right? What's that?
Well, what happened is it was a 7-year study. We looked at 197,000 people. Jeez. And we utilized all the consultants around the world were feeding in performance metrics and profiles. And the PhDs got together and crunched it. And I still remember the day that my heart almost stopped because we looked at everything a couple of times and there's no real correlation.
It's like, what? And that was 7 years?
I was like, crap, you know, that sucks. A lot of time and money. What we found though is we were looking for all levels universally, any role, any industry, universally. So we do see trends. If you're in sales, we know that being more extroverted helps it. If you're in accounting or quality assurance, having a greater attention to detail and more strategic, systemic thinking helps. But universally across all jobs at all levels, there isn't. The two things that
So
we
it's
did
missing
find,
context. So it's missing context to apply.
absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. So the good news is, it's not like these one set of things that if you weren't born with them or you don't have these, you're never going to be successful. So that's good.
Yeah.
What we did find was the two things, and this is where the white paper originally started from, was self-awareness and authenticity. And we can expand on those in a minute, but that was originally presented as a white paper. And I quickly realized that most business people, and from a marketing standpoint, nobody gives a damn about a white paper. It just makes them want to not look at it when it has that title on it. So the book was written to bring the learnings from that study to the people that would need it the most in a vehicle that they would like or could digest.
So Jay, I know we don't know each other that well. I've been saying your name for over 10 years. I've done workshops and speaking engagements and things all over the place in North America. And I've always said there was this study done. There was 200,000 people studied for 7 years. And I remember Jay Niblick standing on stage saying that he was almost disappointed when he found out there was only two things. I literally remember you saying this. I've literally quoted this. I know it. I said, and you came out and it was authenticity and self-awareness. And I said, how many times you go to a business concept and those are the two things on the business plan? So we're like, it doesn't quite make sense. And then even I remember you speaking about, it was really cool because you're like, you think it's real estate, you think it's stocks, you think it's what makes people mega. And I remember you had this level of 200 million plus, the people that are like the real rich. Like, we're not talking like people that are a million, everyone's got a million, but like 200 million, that's another level. And this is something it just hits me today. Like, and literally I'm all in on this, about personal growth, inner world. And then you see I think you know Philip McKernan, he's been my mentor for over 8 years. And his line is self-worth is, if you take a look right there, actually I didn't even plan this, your self-worth is always determined by your net worth. And I think that is where the study comes from in a way, like it always, or intertwines, I mean. And, but yeah, no, I've been all over the place talking about your book. I've done, so there's a lot of people that know you and you don't know me. And so nice to meet you, Jay. And what's cool is what I'm hearing is like, I'm also a Myers-Briggs trained practitioner. And so I'm sure that came into play. So I understand that stuff inside and out. I'm doing a lot of training on that to business people and to real estate agents and things, because it's how to connect. It's self-awareness and then how to connect. So I love it. I think we have very similar lines of sight in a way. So yeah, no, I'm very excited to have you on the show. I've had lots of really cool people, but when it comes down to something that's impacted you, like you may be on one of the top of the list here. So I'm pretty.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm glad. I mean, the study and the findings had the same impact on me. Really, even though I wrote the book, I didn't create the study findings. They had this. You can imagine it hit me too. I just wrote the book to summarize what we learned and put it out for everybody else to try to benefit from. But it hit me like a ton of bricks. And I said, man, I wish I'd have learned that a long time ago. Yeah. All the people that I interviewed in the book to try to illustrate, to make concrete and say, this isn't just a theory. This isn't numbers. Yeah. There's real people that have reached the highest levels of success in their specific area. And the reason behind that was success, as we defined it in the book, isn't just money. Yeah. Everybody has their own definition of success, but a lot of them, almost every one of them actually, I think, said, if they won $1 billion lottery, as Bates just had yesterday, 1.5 something, almost 6 billion. Crazy. They still do it because they all said the same thing. They don't consider it work. They love what they do. It's passionate. It connects with them. They're engaged, But success was not just career success, but their satisfaction with themselves, the time that they were able to make for their family. Got a bit of a hiccup here with connection. We can edit this out. Hello. Let's give it a second. If you can hear me, Jay, we'll just give it a sec. Hello. There you go.
Here we go. Yeah, that's why we can edit.
Yeah. No, you
Sometimes.
locked up.
Yeah. I don't know. You had just started talking, so you probably kept going for a bit, eh?
I could see that you were moving, but
Okay.
I think, what was the last thing you heard about success?
Yeah. Talking the definition of that. So why don't we cut back from there?
All right. So little glitch there. We were talking about the definition of success. We interviewed those individuals that are in the book.
All the different levels of success. You were talking about how there was like, how much time people spend with their family and the way that there's some really interesting combinations that I'd love to hear about that more.
Well, it wasn't just money. I mean, everybody has to make their own definition of success, but I think some of the saddest moments we're talking to people who had the financial success and all the trappings of it. They had a title of a founder or CEO of a business that was generating tens of millions of dollars, but they'd alienated their family, their kids, disaffected relationships, disenfranchised, friends. I mean, you could see these people, all the money they ever needed, more than they ever needed. And it was still just chasing that. It was just go get more and more and more. But literally divorce after divorce, separation, children that wouldn't talk to them and hadn't for years, best friends from grade school who are now bitter enemies. I mean, it's horrible to see. So when we talk about success in the book, those people all very clearly don't just say, I'm successful in my career.
Mm-hmm.
I've got great relationships with my kids. I get to give back. I get to do things that are benefiting others, not just me. So success is a much broader term that we want to make sure that when we're saying these lessons that we learned lead to success, it's what kind of success are we talking about? And not
has to have context again. Like, what does that even mean? Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, that's really cool. Really cool. Like, I love it. And so what are some of the discoveries yourself? Like you say you have some people in the book that you have some case studies.
It's interesting. The book, one of the big profiles that we used is what's called the attribute index, the basis for the genius profile that's in the book. But it looks at decision-making styles, and there's a variety of different styles. You talked about the MBTI, and all good psychometrics, they usually come down to a block of types.
Yeah.
So I tried to interview somebody that had each of the core types in the book. So there's guys like Marshall Goldsmith, Dr. Marshall Goldsmith, who's one of the top business coaches in the world, works almost exclusively with Fortune 500 CEOs, probably even closer to the Fortune 100. And I told him he pissed me off one day because he said, Jay, there's a lot of things I have to do there's a lot of things I suck at. I just make sure I don't have to do them to be successful. And
that's a great line. Say that again. That's such a great line.
That's why I told him he pissed me off, because I said, you just summarized an entire book in one sentence. It's a fortune cookie. That's all anybody needs if they truly grasp that comment. So the comment was, there's a lot of things I suck at. I just make sure I don't have to do them to be successful. So go back to the context found in the study. Actually, let's talk about that self-awareness and authenticity. So self-awareness first. And I'll give you more examples of the case studies that elaborate on this, but I think it'd be important to go with first. So we as humans aren't really great at understanding our user manual. We don't get one. We know more about the mechanics of our car or our washing machines or boats or airplanes. We understand these things because they're tangible and we see them and we see machinations behind the stuff and all of that. But us as objects, we don't really do so well understanding them. These intangible talents and traits aren't very well qualified for most people. On a 0 to 10 scale, the average level of self-awareness, as far as how accurately do you really know your greatest strengths and weaknesses, is around a 5.5.
Yeah.
So the first thing we found was those that had a much higher level of performance and satisfaction were like an 8.3.
Wow.
They just knew the user's manual a whole lot better.
Man, you simplify what I say. I'm like writing this down. It's so good. Simplify the user manual, or what did you say? They just know the user manual better.
Yeah, I walk up to an average Joe on the street and say, quick, what are your greatest strengths and weaknesses from a natural talent standpoint, a personality standpoint? And they'll stop and start to go, and they start to think right then and there, here's what I think. But they're kind of pulling it out or
It's
trying
not,
to
yeah, they don't know. They don't, it's like there's a knowing that's missing. Like it's almost like, yeah, I'm pretty good at this.
Yeah, exactly. It's very soft. Ask one of these top performers in the study. It's like they had a laminated card in their back pocket. They could pull it
Wow.
out and go, 5 things I'm great at, 5 things I suck at. And they
Wow.
had great awareness about both sides. Here's what I'm really good at. Here's what I'm not good at. And I always say suck at, because they were very forceful in their use of, I'm really bad at this.
Wow.
You know, so they understood. That's the first thing.
And then again, it's like, it's just being self-aware is only half, because you got to be authentic. So you got to be, instead of just saying, hey, I suck at this, you got to be the guy that sucks at it and be open to being the guy that sucks at it, because that's who you are. But if you know you suck at something and you're trying to hide it, but you know it, that's the missing factor as well, right?
That was the biggest one. Yeah. I mean, that's the harder one. Self-awareness, easy concept. Most people don't do great at it.
Yeah. Like I'm fat. That was easy.
Well, I would say, hey, I can go out and take a profile. I can do self-awareness. I can just stop and think with a piece of paper with a Benjamin Franklin list of pros and cons about me.
Yeah.
You can get why that makes sense and understand. The bigger tackle, I think the tackle was found those that had great self-awareness, but still weren't in the high performing zones with job and personal satisfaction, because they were not authentic. So just having it, like you just said, completely reinforces reinforcing what you're saying. Just because you have it doesn't mean that's the key. It has to have the second part. So here's what happens. We're raised, in school years, first 18 to 21 to whatever years of our lives, with, if you find something you're not good at, fix it.
Totally.
This is what you suck at, fix it. You're not great at math, but you're great at English. Get better at math, because the best students are getting A's in everything. Jeez. So we're taught, if you're not great at something, get better at it. Now, I'm all about self-development and all about learning and growing and pushing yourself out of your comfort zones. But for our lives, until we get into business, that's what we walk in the door, having been trained our whole lives.
Crazy.
The industrial era taught us the same thing. Frederick Taylor created the one best way, and all of these things that about scientific management principles in the times back when Henry Ford was creating all these things, and Goodyear and Johnston and all these guys, that where you're producing something physically, it made sense to say everybody can adapt how they do something to the one best way. There's the most efficient way to do this. And if everybody just gives up, to quote Frederick, if everybody gives up their own independence and individualism and just does everything we tell them to do exactly as we tell them to do it, everything will be perfect. So he was not a big fan of individuality.
Interesting.
That still underlies a lot of where we are, even in the knowledge worker economy that Drucker talked about. That's where we are right now. 80% of the GDP in the US, and I think Canada as well, is service, not manufacturing, not production.
Interesting.
So what people deliver now is mental, between their ears, not so much physical.
Yeah.
But if you have this overlying leftover legacy kind of belief of, well, let's tell everybody in this job to do the same things in the same way, but we don't realize we're telling them to think the same way.
Yeah.
We forgot we're not acting the same way now, we're thinking the same way, and you can't change the way you think.
No.
Our neural networks, if I'm 50 years old as I am now, I can't change 50 years and 9 months of neural wiring that has been programmed into me. It's dynamic. It changes over the course of my life. I definitely don't think today like I did when I was 16, but these are slow. I call it glacially dynamic. These are 3, 5, 7, 10-year kind of slow changes outside of significant emotional events or psychological illness. I can't go out and read a book. You talk about Myers-Briggs type indicator. I can't go take a pill, take a class, read a book and say, I'm going to change the fact that I'm not at all detail oriented, or I'm an introvert. I'm going to take a speaker class and I will no longer be an introvert. No, you'll be an introvert who's learned some skills to try to act like an extrovert, but it's never going to be a natural extroversion.
Nailed it. Yeah.
I'm not a high D in the DISC model. I'm not super fast and decisive. I'm going to take a course and I will become that. It just doesn't happen.
Do you know what I find funny when I won't say who they are because I know some of these people, but I did some consulting with a guy, and I did the Myers-Briggs step 1, and I went through it, and he came out as an intuitional thinker.
Okay.
And so, but what no. That's right. An intuitional thinker. He was so upset because he wanted to be a sensing type. And it was like this, and it was funny because I uncovered his lack of self-awareness and the lack of wanting to be who you are. And it was like, and he still today does hyper detailed activities. And I'm like, why are you so depressed? Well, there you go, man. Like you're doing things that you're like, no, you know what? Because he maybe as a, you know, and again, that's the story of this is the whole thing outside of psychometrics and all of this stuff. It's your story. That's the other side of how we are. Like we can psychometrics the shit out of everyone and find out their natural place. But if you've been abused or if you've had death, if you had trauma, you're going to change. And so that's the other side of it. And it's funny, uncovering some of that stuff happens when you do the psychometrics and you can see people and like when they're not comfortable with their assessment. And I'm like, this is clear, like clear as day. It's almost like it uncovers the lack of self-awareness. It's fascinating to see, but that's in his story. He was told that his head was in the clouds, and he's told that he's never organized, and he was told that he should know the details. And the problem is he's one of the most creative guys I know. If you would just lean in, the guy would dominate and then just find someone that can help you in the details. But but he won't get to the place where he's like, this is me. My head is in the clouds. Well, in the clouds, you can see the full picture, dude.
Oh yeah.
The people that are sensing type can't see the picture. And it's like, they don't understand, they devalue a part of who they are. And it's just sad.
It's people, most of the messages that we get telling us to adapt ourselves are either overt or covert. So
yeah,
a lot of them are overt. You're talking about examples where a manager, a parent, most of the time, these are well-intentioned actions. You need to be more structured, says the father and the mother to the kid in college or the high school kid, or says the boss to the new intern, you have to be more accurate. Well, they're modeling back to Frederick Taylor, back to an industrial era mindset. Totally. There is the best way to perform in this role or life in general. And this is it. Well, from their mountaintop, from their perspective, that may be the most important thing. Don't take risks. Go get a stable job. Stay there for 30 years.
Have a backup plan. Get a career. Get a degree.
Well, for that individual, that's what they feel. That's what, to them, they're risk averse. To them, they like stability seeking. For them, they don't want change. They want to become a stable expert. But if you don't appreciate that just because they're your kid or because they're your coworker or because they're your subordinate, that may not be them. It happens to all of us. It's happened to everyone. It's happened to me. It's happened to you. It's interesting you talk about Calgary, because not understanding that, I think I was either before or after Michael Gerber. I don't remember, but I remember talking to him backstage.
That's right. I was there too. That's right. I don't remember.
I think he was after me. Anyway, so I'm talking to him off stage. He has the same approach. The E-Myth originally started with very much the same thing. I'm a physical therapist. So I know more about physical therapy and kinesiology and all this stuff. So surely I would make a great business owner for physical therapy.
No.
It sounds silly. It's like, okay, just because I'm an accountant doesn't mean 100%. I'm going to be able to go start an accounting firm and run it, because I'm not really an entrepreneur. But that's where so many people slip into that. They don't appreciate that the behavioral talents, the natural talents, the way you're wired, they don't change. So you say, I'm an expert, this is what counts. So obviously I know accounting. I'll be great at running the business and making sure it's profitable. I understand all of the other jargon. But anything else I need, I'll pick up, I'll develop, I'll adapt. And they get in, and I think what was beautiful about Michael's book, The E-Myth, was people don't appreciate that entrepreneurialism is in and of itself a skill set. It's a unique set of talents and personality drives, and you need to have a little reality distortion capability to make sure. Otherwise, nobody would ever start one, because 95% of all new have the ability to be aggressive and be a salesperson and adapt. It's a very unique job that not everybody can do. So we were talking about that because the things tied together very well. People fail as entrepreneurs because they fail to appreciate, if you get outside of your natural talent zone, you can try as hard as you want. You're not going to just pick up those talents by reading books or taking courses.
Totally.
Working on decision making all day long, but you're not going to be a great strategic thinker if that's not a natural.
But the increase is nominal. Like, it's just such a small, like, the amount of effort it takes to get good at something that you're not natural at is 50 1,000 times harder than something you love. Like
Absolutely.
it just makes it just so obvious once you've kind of given yourself to these thinkings going, yeah. Like when I started as a business coach, I went into real estate, starting training agents. And I knew I'm the worst when it comes to like paperwork. I'm like, you don't want to see it. I can't even spell it, read backwards. Like, and I'm going, okay, but I'm like killer at marketing, promotion. And man, I can connect on an empathetic level to people that maybe there's a level that's deeper, but man, I'm there. And so I thought, okay, so I'm going to need to hire an assistant because I suck so bad. So that's the self-awareness. I jumped onto selling real estate because I wanted to show real estate agents that there's a way easier way to do it. And then what I did was I hired an assistant. I didn't even have work yet. And then people look at me and go, what are you doing? And I'm like, you'll see. And I sold like 440 grand worth of real estate. I don't think anyone's even come close because I didn't have to do the shit I didn't like. And it's like, it was just like, it's so real to me. But there's this weird, like it's people, if I tell people, hey, hire an assistant, they're, oh, I can't afford it. There's so much programming. I got to get right into personal growth psychology to get to the place where they just want to spend $15 to buy an hour's worth of time. But it's like this, that just, I don't know, it's one of the greatest breakthroughs I bring for people, but it's also when it's like, do you want to do personal growth and self-awareness? Not really. Okay, let's hire an assistant. Okay, we got to do personal growth and self-awareness. Like it's,
well, and you know, I'm wearing the Wisehire shirt because that's the latest iteration of What Your Genius has come out in Wisehire. We're helping real estate teams.
Wisehire. Oh, I like it.
Yeah, Wisehire is taking the personality assessments.
Yeah.
And we've established benchmarks for administrative assistants, transaction coordinators, buyers agents, ISAs.
Interesting.
We specialize in helping real estate teams hire and grow.
Didn't even know that, Jay.
It's the same approach. We see a listing agent that, you know, it starts out under a brokerage, does well, and says, well, I'm going to be everything. I'm going to do the transaction coordination. We sat down. I own a brokerage up here where I live outside of Philly. And so we were interviewing a new agent, thinking about bringing him on. And he said, you know, my problem where I am right now isn't the splits or anything else, but it's, I don't have nearly enough support. They're not on teams over where he is. He's doing everything. And so, you know, it's that besides the business case of you're on top of the funnel filling it, but then you're not there when you're also down there. It's the soul doer.
It's called, you've just described the feast and famine.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but
you start and then you are abundant.
3 hours to do the assessment work, the paperwork, getting all of the stuff done. It's always disorganized, keeping it. He said, it takes me so much longer to get all that done because I suck at it. You're describing the same type of typical sales hunter-gatherer sort of personality.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing at Wisehire is the same thing. It's the application and the lessons is let's figure out who is best suited with the natural talents for this job because it ain't you. You know, it says in the book, find someone who loves
I love that. I love that so much. I was talking to my wife the other day and we have a money coach that helps us kind of just stay attention. And again, the details, I need people around me to just say, look at this. And I'm like, oh, perfect. Hey, here's what it is. Perfect. Like it's so easy that I could easily just go, why would I pay $400 a month to meet with someone a couple times a month just so they can point out my money? Because I've saved thousands. The awareness, I want to ignore it and I want to just like let it be, but that's because I want to dream and I want to think because I know who I am. I'm crazy creative and I'm thinking big picture, take on the world. But oh yeah, forgot. So I got to pay that credit card. I just booked this, like that. Even me slowing down, I get into like left-handed work versus right-handed. I'm just like, so I just hire people. But it's funny, I was telling my wife the other day, my money coach says, no, Renee can do this stuff. But I know Renee. We got 5 kids and different things. I said, Renee, just so you know, you're not the person.
Yeah.
I didn't realize what I was saying because when you're married, it's not like you're the business coach. It didn't go over. I was like, no, I can do it. I'm like, Renee, you're not the person for this job. I said, I'm going to hire this out. Like someone that it's just a bookkeeping, booking addition to our team. And my money coach like, well, Renee could totally do it. So it was more like encouraging my wife to step up and stuff. And I'm like, no, you're not that person. And then she got real upset. But we hired someone and then she goes, oh, I see. I'm not the person because that person, what they're doing for you is like 10 times more than I know. So it was like, there's this, it's funny how we have this like defense mechanism, not my wife, really, everyone. It's like when you don't have self-awareness, this is how I find where I don't have self-awareness. If someone goes, hey, Ben, you get cocky sometimes. I'd say to them, yeah, Yeah, sometimes I do. That's called self-awareness. But before I'd be like, oh, I'm not cocky, I'm humble. And the belief around humility, and I'd have a great kickback. So whenever I feel a reaction in my heart, I go, oh, there's a little bit of self-awareness needed there. It's almost like you got to actively be in this journey, because you could live. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, the reason we see real estate teams doing so much better than individual agents under a broker, the solopreneur doing everything, are these same principles. Yes. Are there more people on the team doing things? Sure. But the performance levels far exceed just the fact that there's 3 people, or 5 people or 10 people.
Yeah.
It's that you're in your zone. You get to do that which you are naturally gifted for doing. You enjoy doing it. It recharges your batteries, not draining them. You're a lot faster at it. You're a lot more effective at it. So that's why the big trend that we see in real estate is teams.
Yeah.
Because people are starting to realize self-awareness and authenticity. We just talked to a person last week, and they want to continue to bring on reps, their agents that do everything. They're going to cover listings. They're going to cover buyers. They're going to do ISA work. They're going to make 100 outbound FISBO calls. They're going to do their own paperwork. They'll have an admin and an ops function, but they still expect a lot of the agents to be universal.
Yeah.
Let's just look at why that doesn't necessarily work so well. Listing, you're as much of an expert more than I am here. What are some behavioral traits that it takes to be a great listing agent? When it comes to, well, let's just do this. What's the difference between working with listing clients and a buying client?
Like, Jay, we may be on a little bit different wavelength a bit, because I truly believe that, like, I've built systems around everything we do. So we've got the system running to list. We've got the systems running. So what happens is we've got a lot of cookie cutter stuff that has nothing to do with the thinking part of it. What I train on my team is human development. And so if you can connect with the soul and really connect with these people and they like you, that's literally 75% of the battle. Because real estate function, the top real estate agent and the mid-level real estate agent are very close in skill. The one guy might be more of a hustler, one guy might be more, but the biggest thing is on, like, I let them list, I let them buy. Okay. But the thing is, though, we really, really build on a referral base. Okay. So when I'm teaching them, so it's a little bit of a different, like, my team structure is probably different than anything out there. I've made it so independent for they can build their own portfolios. They can have, I don't even have my name on the sign. I have longevity. That's crazy. The thing is, though, I really help them on their backstory. So there's psychometrics, but there's also that backstory. And that's where I've lived on the streets. I've been in rehab. I've had almost got it, like, this shit that I've gone through in my life that has nothing to do with personality and psychometrics is absolutely enormous of what I've had to overcome. And Philip McKernan has helped me a lot with that. And even I've had some other mentors. So I understand people on a level that, like, I think, like, I was even thinking what you're doing with the Wise Hire. It's almost like my thinking is, where's this personal, like, the psychologist in a way? It's almost like their sports are bringing in sports psychologists now. Why? So if you're thinking about hiring and building a team, you got to get their backstory, their belief systems. Like there's a little bit more, and that's a little bit more abstract. So anyways, some of this, but bringing it back to what you're saying, though, is I get it. And it makes me exciting to think about having a guy that just bangs out those cold leads, having a guy that's a door knocker, having a guy, like, you could build the business around skill sets.
Well,
you know what I mean?
When you get up into some peak levels, as long as you have room for individualization or specialization, it's good. You'll find personalities and types that want to do a whole bunch. They want diversity. They want to be able to work with both.
Yeah.
The point being, though, we see it statistically. Working with lists and working with buyers is different from a pace standpoint. I can get in, I can hit the listing client, I can sell the contract, I can get some price negotiations. It's one-on-one. It's a lot faster, shorter, iterative work. I'm going to go back to them when I, get some people in.
It's way more front loaded. And once you're in, you've got the system running, but then the psychology of a price drop, then the psychology of, like, it's not selling. Like, it's almost like way harder and way easier. You know what I mean? Because when it's going good, that's awesome.
But those are universals that you have to have the same kind of talks when it comes to on the opposite end with a buyer. So those things are universal, but we see differences. That same person that really, really is great at that, oftentimes cannot stomach the thought of showing 23 houses to the Joneses over the next 2 days. You know, they want to play HGTV. It's like, I'll give you 3, pick one, you know, please. They don't necessarily have the patience level.
Not sure why this happens like this today.
Hey.
Yeah, it doesn't usually crash like that. No worries. No worries. But yeah, no, yeah, we just cut out. But just talking about the different skill sets in listing, different skill sets in buying, admin. Yeah, and I think even the thought of putting those thoughts to a team lead, like most people don't even think about it. You know what I mean? Like, why don't we specialize in an area where they're strong? Like, it's almost, you know.
There's no right answer, but as long as you're asking the question, you'll find those that want to do all. You'll find those that, you know, but you have to ask, are there those that maybe would be better in an ISA role, dialing 150 FISBOs, pounding them out? They don't have the attention span to have a long month relationship with all these folks.
Huge.
You'll find them. You'll find some that just want to do TC work and not ops or admin. You'll find that is where I think the key is bringing this question, and it's where Wise Hire kind of came from, is the lessons in the book, the lessons in the study. There are differences in how people think and make decisions, being aware of what those are, and then trying to figure out how do those best fit authentically.
Yeah.
And we didn't talk about it a whole lot, but fleshing out that second piece, authenticity.
Yeah.
Authenticity is where you don't say, I suck at these things, how do I go fix them? That's this burden that we've been put on through school, and there's been put on us at school and other places, is, you know, the best people have the fewest amount of weaknesses. They suck at their suck list is shorter than their strengths list.
Yeah.
No, you talked about the people I interviewed. Dr. Larry Higgins up at Harvard. He was the head of ortho up there at Harvard University. I was knew him at Duke University when I was there, and he'll be the first to say, no, there's a lot of stuff I suck at, like Dr. Marshall Goldsmith. Mike Lorelli, the former CEO and president of PepsiCo and Pizza Hut, same thing. You know, they were the first commercial to ever air on a VHS. It was at the end of Top Gun or something like that, way back. And, you know, this creative mind was told inside this big corporate structure. And he said, I even led this charge for a little while. Everybody should identify what they're not great at. And that's where training is going to come in, and we'll just elevate everybody's. So there is nothing we all suck at.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was miserable. It was one of the worst mistakes I've made as an executive.
But it's cool that the yin and yang, right? He has to experience that it's bad. And now he knows not to do it. That's great.
That list of things I suck at is almost every bit as long, if not longer, in everybody that I know that's super successful. That's the big difference.
But you can position yourself to win. Like,
they
it's,
know it.
yeah.
But then they say my authentic role, and people don't necessarily think about it from an authentic standpoint using that word. They go out and they figure out a role that only their success primarily depends on the things they're already naturally great at. So they evaluate, what am I doing and how am I going about it? If this requires me to be incredibly systemic and structured, or this job's going to require me to be very methodical, and that's nothing I'm ever great at, it's not going to be a great fit for me. I'm creating success that depends on my weaknesses. Why would I do that?
Yeah.
Why don't I go find a job or a way to do the job? What I do like about real estate, like any independent business person, an entrepreneur really, is you control the job. You can decide what's the best way for you to do it. Some people, DCs, you know, they don't need admins. Now they should still have one from a coaching standpoint, because why would you at $300, $400, $500 an hour do a $23 an hour
It doesn't make sense. Like $15 for an hour, that's the best money I can ever spend. If I save myself 2 coffees, I'll buy an hour at a time. I trade that all day.
Hell yeah, absolutely. But some of them can do it, you know, and some of them are better at this. Others find ways to set systems up and depend on marketing vehicles that don't require them to be the most aggressive hunter-gatherer.
Yeah.
You know, some can create success without being the best networkers, or they partner with people that are balancing them out, you know. So that's what's cool about working with realtors, is like any entrepreneur, they get probably more than any other job in the world. Entrepreneurs, that is.
Yeah.
Of which realtors are. They
100%.
get to do more with this knowledge than anybody else.
Huge. It's crazy.
What sucks is if Ben Osterveld is working for Acme Incorporated Manufacturing and he has this realization that, hey, I don't do this very well. What are you going to do? You're going to go to your boss and say, hey, I want you to change my job description. I don't want these responsibilities. It's tough.
I would. I'd be like, fire me.
Well, and that's what happened more.
That's called entrepreneur, though.
We saw people that would say, hey, I'm trying to change this, but I'm so inauthentic. There's no way I'm not going to modify it at all. And they would leave. And that was one of the most common things we found from people. Just said, nope, wrong fit. I realized that. Just cut bait right now. But entrepreneurs, no.
It's funny, 100%. It's funny. I love that you're bringing this up because this is like, I'm on a mission. I think I got a sign around me that says, what is it here? Real estate. I got another one. These are my signs. I'm doing my events across Canada, and I just had them up. I'm like, I'm using these things. One of them says, real estate agents are business owners, not employees. It's legitimately a huge part of the workshop I do and the two-day event. And it's just what you're saying is so timely and so good because you need to first think that you're a business owner. When you open up shop for a restaurant, are you doing dishes? No. So why the hell are you submitting your listing to the office? Yep. Why the hell are you booking showings? Why are you doing feedback? If you got 10 listings, why? We're talking trading $15 an hour. Like it might even be cheaper.
No, you're out there taking photos, putting lock boxes on.
And I get it. I think you need to roll that process, but man, the faster you can outsource the shit you don't like, you go home happy. Like I'm all about human. And it's like, I want to go to home. I got 5 kids. I want to go home and be present. Most of the time I am, but it's like you want to go home and not be like, shit, I got to do all the stupid stuff I hate. Man, if you do that every day, you're just going to be unhappy. I see guys burn out all the time like this. I'm on a mission to get people to think of that.
Crucial shift you need to make, and we talk about it all the time. Do you want to own a job or do you want to own a business?
It's huge. Real estate agents don't even call it. Sorry, go ahead.
Own a job. That's what they do. They own a job.
Yeah, and they'll even say, my job is real estate. And I'm thinking like, no, you're a straight up, like you do taxes as if you're a business owner. You do everything. So I'm kind of on a mission to shift the thinking because when you start as an agent, if you're not a business owner, jump on a team. But on that note, there's one thing though that I wanted to bring up on team. I was coaching another agent and I said, have you ever thought of being on a team? Because I'm not sure if she's really a number one. You know what I mean? The hunting style, the systems person, but man, is she good with relationships. So exactly what you're talking about. How do I fit her and how do I coach her with context of who she is versus just here's the systems, miss. And so I said, what'd you think of the team? And she's like, well, every time I go talk to a team, I just feel like sick. I go, why? Because what happens is most team leads, and this is now where the team lead is not aware. And they want to be the ego is involved and they want you, like the team lead, he's on top. My name's on all your signs. You can be a bottom hanger.
Yeah, it's changing, like you said. And
I'm on a mission for it because I'm trying to prove it in my own business. Like I've got my machine running and I'm not even barely selling anymore. And I've got 4 or 5 agents working for me. And the thing is, it's all about them and it's not about me. And I feel like that's the shift but because the team leads it's such an opportunity right now because there's so many people that really need to have that team environment, but they don't want to lose their identity. This is the new age. So I think the feeling of the head guy with his minions has got to go away.
It's happening. I mean, we're seeing that shift.
You are, eh?
A lot of the biggest teams in the U.S. Use our services, and we see that shifts happening about running it more like a business. It's not an ego play. It's not just go brand my name. It's your name, signs. It's about building a team, building a company, not just a team. And hopefully it'll shift even away from the team.
Yeah, totally.
Company.
It's our firm. It's our company.
Like a business owner, not a guy that owns his own job. You're an independent realtor. You own your own job. Yeah. And then that's great. And for some people, that's what they want to do.
Great.
They're never going to sell more than 50, 60 houses in a year if they're crushing it.
Yeah.
They're going to run around taking their own photos, putting it up on the MLS, setting up.
Just giving her. Yeah.
Staging, and it's great. If that's what they love to do, perfect. That's authentic to them. But when they say, this isn't what I love to do, and I wish I could be making a whole lot more, well, okay, then the problem is you got to own a business. And go outside of real estate. Think of another business that would operate the way most teams in real estate do.
Yeah.
Now, outside of founding the business where the founder is doing a whole bunch of stuff and running around from janitor to CEO to marketer,
It's different.
that's just to get it up and running. But
Just to start though, just give her to get it started. Like I'm 5 years in and I'm out. Like
most
it's
companies
running.
have a salesperson or a
Yeah.
salesperson. Most companies have support staff. Most companies
You're
have
the
operations,
tech guy.
or a
Yeah.
tech guy, or
HR.
a social media manager, and HR, depending on how big you get, and then an executive that's overseeing all. So this differentiation in real estate that we're seeing, because I think the old model is so broken, the broker model
So broken.
is so broken in so many ways.
It's funny we're talking about this, Jay. I was not expecting a real estate talk on this one. That's funny. I didn't know that. I didn't even know what you were into. That's kind of cool.
But you know what?
Cool.
You know why it shifted over? Because we're seeing this this self-awareness and authenticity start to take hold. People are realizing
it really works.
9 out of 10 realtors fail.
That's 100, man. I'm working with this one agent. I don't take too many one-on-one clients anymore, but I'm working with one agent and it was 3 sessions in and she goes, Ben, is this normally how the coaching is? I said, what do you mean? She goes, we barely talked about real estate and we talked about my confidence. We talked about how I bullied myself in my mind. We talked about how I put myself in this position with relationships. I'm like, I couldn't get to you. I can't give you a strategy until you're kind of like you're the person that's running everything. And I feel like this is the mission. Like it's and that's why honestly, the easiest way to walk into personal growth is the psychometrics, is that kind of stuff. Like you can just
a reason,
such a great
to talk about those topics.
Totally. And it's like, are you an introvert, extrovert? And then you could get in going, why don't you defend yourself? Why are you getting walked on? So these are things. And then, so she's like, and then she just sent me a message, just the most beautiful message on how her life's changing. And she feels like she's just found herself again. And now what's funny is she's rolling in the deals. And it's so, I can't quantify with science other than when I teach authenticity and self-awareness, you get sales. And it's not a 1 + 1. It's like 1 plus weird number plus 6 equals, and I don't know how to, but your book has been the reason why I can actually bring it up. And then it's such a great doorway in the combination of understanding how to do some of the psychometric works myself. Like, I think this is so exciting that you're actually in the real estate field, because this is what feel like I'm a loner in it, because every time I talk to a top guy recruiting, it's, oh man, you celebrate your gross revenue. Are you kidding me? Who does that? $1 million of expenses. I make $1 million of sales. I'm a god in the business. And it's like, you know what I mean? Oh, I think we're frozen again. What is, holy crap. This is the worst I've had for cutoffs. I've never seen this. Where was I?
No, you were only gone for a split second there. I mean, what you're saying makes so much sense because, and that's, well, imagine we're talking about, let's bring it back into a physical reality. So we're a tool. We have tool sets, if you're a carpenter and you've got all these wonderful fine tools that you can use to work on wood and stuff, but you don't really understand them that well. If nobody ever sat down and showed you what is it and what is the best understanding of how it physically works, we shouldn't be surprised that somebody all of a sudden is getting results in their job. And in this case, what you're talking about is sales, because you're helping them understand the owner's manual at a level that they never have. That self-awareness we talked about. Most of the people walking into your coaching are probably at a 5.5. How are you ever going to be a master at what you do if you don't have mastery of who you are to begin with, and you as the tool? Understanding it leads to utilizing it better. And so what you're saying is just the practical aspect of helping them understand what they are first. Your results shouldn't be surprising that you're now seeing people get better results with the tool that they are. And I don't mean like, tool in a derogatory sense,
the tool that they are. No, I think the example is in my crazy mind, I always see pictures and it's like a guy finds a screw and he goes, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to grab a hammer.
Yep.
And it might work. That's what's insane. You could make a hammer work for a screw, but then there's a guy that's got a screw gun, goes zip. The guy that doesn't leaves collateral damage, but he gets it done. And then he wants to argue the fact that no, that worked. See, it worked. And then you run into these guys. I'm like, it's not working because you don't know how good it could be. Like, so that's the problem, is that they don't know.
So based on the what's your genius in the book, what's your genius? Tell me that, because this is what we saw in the top performers, but you give me what you're seeing with your students, your coachees, your clients. when you're inauthentic, so let's forget self-awareness, assume that's there,
Yeah.
but whether that is or is not the cause of being inauthentic, performance goes down and effort to get that goes up.
So true.
What we saw with the people in the study is it's the scariest thing is the performance went up and the effort and the stress and the speed with which it took to get that performance and the toll that it took went down, and they were pretty inversely correlated.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
Shocking things when they went through the coaching programs that came out of What's Your Genius afterwards was something's wrong. This doesn't feel right because it shouldn't be this easy. This can't be really what's happening. I mean, we would hear these comments say, to get those results, I should have to kill myself. Shouldn't I be kicking my ass?
That's that story that we carry, right? That's our internal story from our father, from our whatever it is. Like, I got to work hard to make money. Like, this belief systems, these things have to be unwound. But what's cool is you almost give the brain new evidence because you're like, it is working. Maybe this is what is normal. Maybe my belief is the problem. And it's cool to see people unwind that. That's when I think when you say people don't change, they're thinking it takes a long time. Those are the moments I see those catalysts, those sparks hit, and they're like, oh, it is working.
Well, that's a belief system that can change like that in how to apply that which I am. You know, that's this core construct belief system that says, I can't do that. I shouldn't do this. These cognitive scripts that are repeating in my head. I have to do this. I'm never going to make this successful. I'm never good at that.
Totally.
And many times they're negative cognitive scripts, but that's different. So it is tricky. And we got about 4 minutes left. It's tricky when people say you can't change the way you think. There's two different classes.
Gotcha.
Natural talents based on how your mind is wired. You know, are you going to be an extrovert? Are you great with big problem
100%.
solving? Are you detail oriented versus changing your MBTI or your DISC?
Yeah.
But then when we say think differently, well, that does fit. You can say, take a different view of yourself. Let go of a paradigm that you have that says what you just the example you just gave. Unless it's hard, it's probably not. You're not earning.
Yeah.
It. Unless you had to break a sweat, you're not doing it hard enough.
You don't deserve it even. Yeah.
And it is the number one thing I think I've seen is people go, something's not right. This doesn't seem fair. I mean, because it really was easy and enjoyable to do. This, you know, it's this cognitive dissonance.
Yeah, you got to screw with your head a little bit sometimes. So Jay, we are getting close to time, but I've got a few questions I want to throw at you that are just kind of fun, bit of a lightning round to get to know you a little bit more. I think we've talked about and covered this authenticity and self-awareness and your book, and hopefully some people will be buying this book and at least listening to the podcast, getting to know what you do. I know lots of real estate agents follow me, so who knows what happens. You might be able to connect with some people and help some people that way. So here's a few questions, okay?
Shoot.
Okay, we'll start with something easy. What's your favorite comfort food?
Oh, Lord.
You're like, I like it all.
I like it all. Yeah, no, I mean, to be honest with you, this sounds back to my childhood. I love like just a nice bowl of cereal and toast.
Oh man, that's a winning choice. What's your favorite cereal?
Frosted Flakes with bananas.
With the bananas. See,
gotta throw the bananas on there, man. It's like childhood homesick from school stuff.
That's awesome. That's funny how we are. Hey, like I think about marketing into culture and nostalgia. I think it's like if you want to market, you market to the nostalgia. I'm telling you, people lean right in just because I like it. Something that reminds me of my past. You know, it's kind of cool. Oh no, are we crashing out again here? Oh my goodness, what is going on? Unbelievable. Wow. Jay, I'm really sorry, man. I don't know what the heck's going on with this. I have no clue what's happening. Usually
it's the Russians.
Let's blame the Russians. I'm surprised we didn't blame Trump. Usually everyone's blaming Trump. No, that's CNN. Never mind. So I turn it on. I tell my wife, I'm like, wonder what they're hating on Trump on today. Like it's not even news anymore. It's funny.
I stop watching the entertainment.
I can't take it. Okay, back to this. So Frosted Flakes and cereal are your comfort food. Now, so are you putting on? Let's see here. here's another question here. Are you putting any part of your life on hold?
Actually, there's another book that I'm ready to start writing, but I got it on hold right now because I just got too many other things going on.
Can I find out what this book is? You want to give a little teaser?
Oh, it's going to be called The Anatomy of Talent. And unlike What's Your Genius, it's going to be written for business leaders to take these same lessons and more, since
application,
and apply them to understanding the talent. So it was the one limitation of What's Your Genius. It spoke to you or me, but if you're in that role and you can't change it, you can't. So this one's going to be addressed to top leadership and saying you need to, the lessons that you're teaching and coaching, figure out how these people can fit better into roles and have the role change and fit people better into them as well.
Love that. I think people use intuition a lot, but they don't have the science behind it. And I think you'll add, like a good leader will use intuition and have their own feeling. But if you can add the knowledge that you've amassed, I think it could be a superpower.
Okay, fire for hard skills, fire for soft skills. So let's get better alignment in the organization.
I love it. I think this is really exciting to think that you'd impact the companies out there. It's great. So here's a couple more questions. This is supposed to be the lightning round. It never actually goes that fast, but what is the first thing you think about when you wake up?
My family.
Like you got to feed them, or
no.
they just hit your mind?
How are they? What's going on? Boys okay? Wife good?
Cool. So if you were to make a scratch and sniff sticker, what would the picture be and the smell?
Football.
It would be a football.
Philadelphia Eagles football.
The Eagles. Okay. Eagles, and it's a football. So what would it smell like? It would smell like a football?
Smell like victory in a football. Yeah.
Smell like victory. That's a real intuitional answer, my friend. Okay. One thing you wish your resume said.
I don't know. To be honest with you, I'm very lucky in that regard. I think I've done all kinds of stuff that I've always been able to explore. Nothing jumps into my head right now. Man, I wish I.
Yeah, it's awesome. That's a good feeling. Hey, I feel like I'm similar. I feel like I've done good. You know what I mean? It's like, it feels exciting. That's really cool. Okay. One thing that if you were in a room of people and they know you from your book and everything, and what's one thing someone wouldn't know about you? Like, do you got a weird toe? Do you got no
webs, no, none of that stuff. I don't normally talk much about, like, before getting into sales at J&J or something. There's a military career there. I don't usually talk about that.
I know. I saw that on I get my assistant to do some research on you, and that was one of the things I was like, really special operations of the U.S. Army and military, and that's pretty. I had no clue. I thought that was cool. I think you should talk about that. I think that's a really cool thing. Really.
Yeah, just it's a past life in the U.S. Navy. I do apologize because I am going to have to run to this.
Okay. No worries. What we'll do is we'll wrap it up then. No problem. Sure. Let me just see if there's one more thing. What's one stupid rule that you'd change in this world?
We don't always have to be so PC. It's
PC,
a modern,
politically correct.
Every single thing is so politically correct. It's stupid. To stupid levels.
I think I just tapped into another show. That's what I feel like.
A comedian standing on stage is afraid to say something that might alienate one race or class or gender. We're all taking ourselves so seriously. Just relax, poke fun at ourselves. I guess it goes back to the same rules from What's Your Genius. There's a lot of stuff I suck at. I'm okay with that,
Yeah.
I'm an idiot in these zones, or I'm horrible at this kind of crap,
Just be okay with it, whatever.
Big deal, yeah, relax.
So relax. Let's finish on that note. Everyone, just friggin' relax, okay? Anyways, hey Jay, we'll be in touch, man. Thanks so much. Truly appreciate your time.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. It's good catching up with you again.
Yeah, for sure. We'll see you, man.
All right, man.
Bye.
Talk soon.